my God!
Sjaella are wonderful. They're just out of this world.
It's like we've known each other forever.
It's amazing how both those different worlds are coming together and working as one.
Just Six have an incredibly velvety, very refined sound.
Johannesburg, South Africa's largest city. The metropolis is full of contrasts. It's a center of crime and wealth. Poor neighborhoods known as the townships, right next door to office towers. 4.5 million people live here. Today, Johannesburg is playing host to a special encounter. Two a cappella ensembles from two different continents have come together. Sjaella from Leipzig, Germany, and Just Six from Johannesburg, South Africa. For a week, these 6 women and 6 men will join forces to create a common repertoire. Each group brings its own musical tradition with it, as well as curiosity about the others. The singers from Sjaella have a broad musical education. Just Six learn by ear without sheet music. They rely on their musicality and intuition. Will Sjaella's classical repertoire fit with the African beats of Just Six?
That's so beautiful because then it just, I like how it comes on top of what we're doing, you know, with the rhythm, what we could be doing with the rhythm. And it just...
Yeah, when you join us and really make this very
make
strong.
a groove. And because we don't groove, we know.
The workshop is being led by Markus Detterbeck from Germany. An expert on South African vocal music, he's here to help bring the groups together.
In principle, they could also do it alone. I think my role is just to organize things a bit. There are 3 or 4 really strong players who are contributing ideas. They're brimming with them. To start, I've just given them free rein and lots of space.
The name Sjaella is derived from the Swedish word for soul. This is the ensemble's first trip to South Africa.
But I do think it's beautiful.
The women from Leipzig visit Constitution Hill, one of the country's most important historical sites. Once a fort, it was later used as a prison. Today, it's the seat of South Africa's Constitutional Court. The day after they first meet, the groups give their first concert at a music school in Soweto. Each group introduces itself by singing a piece from its own repertoire.
Celebrating life is sweet, but not without a dance. Celebrating life with you, with everything it brings.
Right afterwards, they perform their first joint arrangement, a hymn from the Middle Ages, jazzed up with African beats.
Can you believe that we just did that yesterday? Yes. We made each other for the first time yesterday. And make some noise!
Sjaella have truly arrived. They're finding the African audience's enthusiasm infectious. Ensemble singing has a long tradition here and is part of everyday life. The next day of rehearsals belongs to Tshepo Tsotetsi. He's been commissioned by Deutsche Welle to compose a work that will be rehearsed here for the very first time. It's entitled Birth of Change. The vocalists will later be supported by a full symphony orchestra.
3, 4, 1.
Here they're getting acquainted with the new work, which was created on a computer and has never been performed before.
You can sing lower. I heard it.
1, 2, 3, and stop.
At some point, things just click into place. The jazz musician and composer Tshepo and the vocalists bring the piece to life.
So let's do it a bit slow. I suppose for me the biggest thing is, since there'll be so much action, it just needs to be rhythmical.
That's right.
My first impression was that it reminded me of many things. Film music, pop music, but it also had very rhythmic elements, which were a little jazzy too.
I think it's amazing, the rhythms that were going on there, you know, the two different sections that were there. I think we're going to have a good time.
It's really interesting that these 2 or 3 voices are going to fuse together with the orchestra. That's something new for us, to sing with a full orchestra.
It's a very nice piece. Tshepo's pieces are usually very exciting and rhythmic. So yeah, I'm enjoying it.
This music and the opportunity to sing together have really bonded us. It doesn't feel like we've only known one another for 3 days.
The singers received it, and instinctively they made it their own, which is what I hoped they would do. So I think we're going to have a good time. I think it's going to develop really organically, nothing too intellectual about it. The melodies are easy, and they sing beautifully. So I think they're going to embody this piece pretty well.
That afternoon, Sjaella pay a visit to the Apartheid Museum. It's South Africa's most popular museum and helps visitors understand the effect of the country's past racial segregation. This car was presented to Nelson Mandela as a gift after his release from prison.
A very outstanding speech.
The activist, who went on to become South Africa's first black president, is still ever present here, as is his fight against the apartheid regime, with all of its horrors. One of the most impressive exhibits is the replica of the tiny jail cell where Mandela was held in isolation for years. Music was also part of the resistance against apartheid. Singing together gave protesters a voice.
I get the feeling that people here express their political opinions through music, and that people here process a lot of their fear, negative emotions, suffering and pain through music. It's simply giving voice to what they're feeling at that moment, and yet making something positive out of their pain. I think that's really one of Africa's strengths.
I had already suspected that singing has a completely different meaning here than it does for us in Germany, that it brought people together during the apartheid era and gave them strength, and was maybe even used to make political statements.
politische Statements zu geben. Ich bin gerade irgendwie sehr wütend, weil man
Right now, I'm very angry because I've just seen or been shown how so many personal fates were affected by apartheid.
nochmal die, natürlich die Apartheid gezeigt haben in diesem Museum.
But I'm also thinking about Germany and how there are still racists all over the world.
Immer noch Rassisten gibt.
Inkululeko. Inkululeko. So,
Inkululeko means freedom. The women from Leipzig are getting a lesson in Zulu, one of South Africa's official languages. Sjaella and Just make good use of the break before their next rehearsal.
Spann den Wagen an.
Spann den Wagen an. Hey, oh, spann den Wagen an. Sieh, der Wind treibt Regen übers Land. Holy golden Gaben, 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 holy golden Gaben. Kaboom!
Though it's winter in South Africa, it feels like summer. The singers have come to this university campus outside Johannesburg to rehearse the new composition together with the orchestra. Germany's National Youth Orchestra is taking advantage of its summer tour through South Africa to rehearse Birth of Change with Tshepo Tsotetsi for the first time. The composer wants his music to entertain people first and foremost. But with this piece, he also hopes to create a tribute to society's unsung heroes, the cleaning ladies, the janitors, and the bakers. Birth of Change is to have its world premiere at the Beethovenfest in September in the German city of Bonn.
Let's have two buses, okay?
The vocalists are struggling to make themselves heard over the powerful sound of the orchestra. After the rehearsal, they're invited to a braai, the South African name for a barbecue. It's a culinary tradition that brings people and cultures together.
It's Pretoria Fashion Week.
Yes.
Sjaella and Just have a lot to talk about. Music, their everyday lives, and Tshepo Tsotetsi's composition.
You know what happened in the...
So I've always described my music as new school. It's definitely new school. It's new. We're striving for something different. Look, with the same instruments, with the same kinds of musicians, but it's just the perspective that has changed. I mean, I'm a very young guy. I'm 28 years old now, and I believe that if anything, since I have the gift of composing, I should be reflecting on the times of today. And it's our duty as composers, artists, to really portray a current feel of what we experience as young people.
Almost a week of intensive rehearsals is capped off with a concert at the University of Pretoria. In this arrangement, a traditional Norwegian wedding march gets an African twist. Sjaella are now feeling completely at home with the African beats. This Irish ballad about the tragic death of a young girl is complemented and interwoven with African rhythms.
Was soll es bedeuten, dass ich so traurig bin? Ein Märchen aus alten Zeiten, das kommt mir nicht aus dem Sinn. Die Luft ist kühl und es dunkelt.
4 weeks later, the singers have come to Bonn, Germany's former capital, for the annual Beethovenfest. It celebrates the city's famous son, the composer and pianist Ludwig van Beethoven.
I would like to live here. I mean, it's so peaceful. It's nice. I like it so much.
I guess the first thing they do after getting up is sing. I've never seen them warm up or prepare. They're just ready to go. We find that really inspiring. It gives us the confidence to really go for it.
I like to think of it as the roses among the thorns, because we're men and we have lower registers, but hearing the sweet voices on top, it's always so beautiful, man. Yeah.
Sind einfach unglaublich weich und tief.
Their voices are so deep and velvety, but they can sing high too. They're very colourful and have an incredible versatility. They're able to sing classical material, but also jazz and soul.
How that comes together is really nice, and they're very flexible. They can do some jazz and all those things. So it really mixes very well with what we do, and it's been quite a fun process. Yeah.
There were so many great moments when we tried out new things. We worked on material we didn't cover in South Africa.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion wakes tonight.
I think they complement each other extremely well. There's this powerful African rhythm and these powerful African voices. And then we have this crystal clear, highly precise sound of Sjaella. This mix is really fascinating because it brings together different worlds united in sound.
Dadurch sind eben verschiedene Welten vertreten und die vereinen sich in diesem Klang.
Only a few hours are left until the big concert, time for a final rehearsal. The singers have spent 5 days practicing the material, including Birth of Change, the work commissioned by DW. The conductor is Brandon Phillips, a South African.
You were moving forward.
Oh, my bread is so delicious.
I'm excited. I think this came out better than I thought. And these are really talented young musicians, so I'm extremely happy about tonight.
The big moment has arrived. The concert with the premiere of Tshepo Tsotetsi's composition. The musicians get a rousing reception. Their concert was a huge success, and the composer couldn't be happier.
The whole point for me was so that everyone could have fun, could have a bit of interpretation of their own. And I just feel like towards the end of the week, that's exactly what we had in the concert. So yeah, I'm extremely happy.
We were all nervous and wanted to unleash our artistic energy. We were tense before the big day, but now we're happy because everything worked out so well.
A lot of different things going on, orchestra, Just Six, Sjaella, you know, it was a lot, and we hope the audience enjoyed it.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. They got up and danced.
They got up and danced, so, you know, we're happy.
It was so moving. This was a really profound experience. And after all the hard work this last week and in South Africa, we can just let loose and have fun.